InvesTex, where we explore all things finance, investing, and business, specifically whatever affects Texas. And today we will be talking about Texas and why it's become such a powerful magnet for businesses, job creation, and growth, and an investing hub for everybody. So we'll cover the factors driving Texas's success and its tax policies, all the way to energy resources and recent trends. How you doing, Cody?
Fantastic, fantastic. And man, is it good to be in Texas.
Yes, sir. I guess we'll start out with the tax policy. So the no income tax has been leading to job growth in
Yeah,
recent years.
yeah, Texas has definitely been one of the premier business environments to not only invest in, but also plant a new business in for that reason, right? We're one of, I believe it's 8 states that don't have state income tax. So, from a consumer perspective, a resident here, that's great. You obviously, your only taxable liabilities to the federal government, not the state level. And then, for businesses, that allows you to keep more of your revenue and income from your business so you can reinvest in growth and development and such like that. So Texas has always been a leader, I think, when it comes to business development, and that being a very big reason as to why. That's why you've seen large companies like some of the oil and gas companies migrate here. You've seen companies like Tesla, for example, completely relocating from California to here and such. So, there's a bunch of different Fortune 500 companies that have headquarters based in some of our metros here. So, you can look at the trends and definitely see that Texas has definitely been a leader when it comes to business development for that reason.
Yeah, and businesses bring jobs. I mean, the Bureau of Labor Statistics this week showed Texas has seen the largest job gains of any state since from September 2023 to September 2024, adding about 330,000 jobs. And surprisingly, coming in second was still California, even though it takes half your money.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen this incredible pattern of migration from California to Texas, and other states as well. I mean, a lot of Californians have dispersed all over, but Texas being a primary landing spot for a lot of those people and businesses, just again, it makes sense when you're coming from California where, your incomes are double, but your expenses are double, and then you can basically transfer that level of income to a state like Texas and have your expenditures reduced in half, essentially. The immediate upsides there just from the second that you plant your flag here, right? So very, very attractive for a lot of businesses to come in and move their businesses here. And, like I said, that trend is not a surprise. I saw that article come out, what, Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, about us leading the United States in employment growth this year. And if you live here, if you visited here, I mean, you can go to anywhere, Dallas, Houston, and Austin, and you can see just the tremendous amount of growth that's happening in all the metros across. And it's an exciting thing to see, right? I mean, it's been really extraordinary to see the growth. I've been a resident here in Texas for 16 and a half years now, and I mean, just the amount of expansion that I've seen just from the time that I've been here has just been astounding. So, no, it's no wonder why Texas was like one of the fastest to recover after the pandemic and whatnot, just because of those trends. So,
Yeah, and speaking as someone who splits their time between California and Texas, I can just say I am happy to live in a car in California, but I pay the freaking same as living in a house in Texas. It's
yeah,
wild.
it is wild. But hey, think of it this way: you got a very nice, expensive tan now.
Yeah.
You got some beautiful sun over there. So,
But speaking of businesses that move here, some of the Fortune 500 companies, Oracle, Caterpillar, and I think Elon Musk just brought everything with him. I think SpaceX is coming, Tesla, and X, the platform now. He
yeah.
really likes X.
Yeah, if there's anybody that's ever, if you haven't seen or had an opportunity to see the Tesla factory in Austin, it's a spectacle in itself. I mean, that facility is just absolutely massive. It is insane how large that facility is, and that's just Tesla. So, like I said, yeah, he's just completely brought everything with him, which we're happy to have. We're happy to have. So, welcome to Texas, Elon.
So, from the high living costs, do you think people flooding in from California, or do you think that's going to affect anything? Do you think policies will come over here, or do you think we'll be firm in our policies?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It's my own personal opinion, just through some observation of the people that I've met that have migrated, or the trends I've seen. I think that a lot of people that are migrating here into places like Texas are people that are very frustrated with some of the policies and such in California, which is also a driving force for them to move out. Not necessarily affordability, but just the idea of like just some of the state and local level laws that are in place there have driven a lot of these people out. When you come to Texas, where it's a little bit more conservative leaning, and a little bit more, I would say, common sense laws, if you will, here in Texas. And so that appeals to a lot of people. So I'm not necessarily concerned about the change in policy or change in ideology here as a state. The impact is something where it's good, but it also has a short-term immediate impact, where you have this, like we saw this after COVID, right? You just had this massive influx of people coming in from out of state, and then all of a sudden, like, our home prices just skyrocketed, right? Take that into account with cheap money, cheap debt. And I mean, we just seen this massive amount of home price appreciation, and it created this affordability gap here at home in just a very, very short period of time. So people, families looking to buy a new home, or maybe first time home buyers that were trying to get into their first home, now have been completely priced out of the market, because of the just robust demand. But again, that's a product of rapid expansion, which means jobs have come here. Ultimately, that means more tax revenue for local governments and federal governments. And so, ideally, that gets reinvested back into some of the communities. So, I mean, there's definitely more upside to those migration patterns here. Just in the short term, it creates a lot of frustration for a lot of locals and residents here. Because, I mean, other thing like the streets. I mean, our streets are so congested with traffic already. If you live in Houston, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it's no like stranger to being stuck in your car for several hours a day out of your life just to get in and out of the city sometimes, just depending on where you live. So,
Oh
um,
yeah.
yeah. So now you couple that with even more people coming in, it's crazy. I mean, Austin's another great example. I mean, Austin just all of a sudden just had this like massive wave of people coming in, and that city just did not have the infrastructure for that type of growth. So, now, you go down some of those major throughputs, major highways, and it's a parking lot for hours a day, and there's cranes everywhere. I mean, buildings are being erected everywhere. Apartment buildings are being erected everywhere. I mean, it's just insane the amount of growth that they're trying to keep up with. So, again, all good things of long term. Short term, it's cause a lot of pain and discomfort. But
Oh yeah. And speaking of cheap, I know buying an apartment out here, the Bay Area specifically, and then going back to Houston, the metro, the difference in cost of living is so insane. An apartment down here that I was spending, which was top floor, overlooked the entire city. I think that was around $1,700 a month. And an apartment out here with no AC and not even a bedroom as a studio is around 3,500 a month. And not even to mention the gas prices, but
yeah. Well,
that'll
I mean,
get you.
yeah, to your point, I mean, $3,500 a month. I mean, that buys you a very, very comfortable home here. That definitely services a mortgage on a very nice home in a very nice area here, across most of the city, especially in the suburban areas. So, yeah, I mean, cost of living from an affordability standpoint, being like one of the largest metros in the United States, I mean, it's one of the most affordable across anywhere, comparatively, on the list of the major metros across the United States, which, like you said, I mean, that makes it really attractive, right? I mean, our biggest expenditure we have here is our property taxes. You get away from the property taxes, and I mean, cost of living essentially is, pretty comparable to most any other metro area elsewhere. So, definitely a good spot to be in. Again, as a consumer, as a resident here, I migrated from small town Louisiana, and coming here, like you think you're moving to a just to give you some perspective, the entire greater Houston area has a larger population than the entire state of Louisiana. So, coming here and knowing that, you would think that, like, oh man, like, it's going to be this massive change. But really, I mean, there hasn't been a significant difference as far as cost of living, at least what I have felt personally and financially. There hasn't been a big difference. And so, and then I live in a city of 7 million plus, you know, versus town of 30,000 I grew up in a small town Louisiana. So, um, but yeah, it's a very compelling reason for why a lot of people come here. Now, it's not as beautiful as the Bay Area. We're definitely not an aesthetically pleasing city, and we definitely don't have great beaches. But if you're coming here to work and play hard, it's a good spot to be.
Yes, sir. Good old Oil City is what I call Galveston Beach. What makes Texas so cheap and affordable, housing wise?
Well, I think you have I think it comes down to the state policies. Again, because we're a very business oriented state, we recognize that in order to continue to have prosperity at a state level, you have to be able to create a culture that allows businesses to come in, create jobs without being too burdensome on the growth of their businesses. And you need to allow communities to invest in their communities to provide safe, affordable housing for these communities to grow, right? So you couple in the idea of having policies that are very business friendly, and you have, uh, local and state laws that allow for, you know, a very affordable living for most of the residents here. And to me, that I think is what really creates this very unique dynamic for Texas, where your dollar can just go so much further here, and it draws people in for the right reasons, right? Because most people want to live close to where they work, ideally, and you want to be able to do that comfortably, and especially if you have a family and such, you want to be able to provide a nice home and a nice living for your family, and that's very achievable in a city like Houston, or Texas in general, right? We got four major metros, and the same goes true for the rest of them. So I think it just comes down to the policies, both at state and local levels, that just create this environment of prosperity for residents and businesses to come in. So, and I think that's why you continue to see, you go back and look at historical trends. Texas has always been a leader on the U.S. stage when it comes to economic development, and we're seeing that again this year with those record-setting numbers for employment. So,
And I think that does it for us today on InvesTex. Again, thank you for joining us. And if you want any access to future videos or content, or want to talk to us, feel free to reach out to us. And if you enjoyed today's conversation and you want to hear the next conversation, feel free to click the link right above. We will see you next week.